What's up, world? Mikey D here, coming at you with a bit of a tier list. So, these are all the games that I played over the course of the year, minus one or two. There's a little like puzzle quest in there. There was a little like bits and pieces here and there on the games that I didn't quite capture, but by and large, this is the whole kit and caboodle of the random games that I was playing over the course of the year. Um, and I'm going to go through and kind of tell you my thoughts on each one, right? Expect to not see many games down in the meh area because really, if it's meh, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to try to never play it to begin with. Um, but yeah, I'll uh, I'll be going through this, so buckle up. We'll see how long this lasts. All right, I'm just gonna go through the list pretty much how it's laid out here at the bottom because I got no better way of doing it. All right, first off, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. So this is a Vanillaware title. They came out with Unicorn Overlord this year. I wanted to play through the back catalog of games of theirs that I had before I picked up Unicorn Overlord. It also gives me an excuse to buy Unicorn Overlord cheaper. So 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. You have like this time travel story. You got a bunch of high school kids all piloting giant mecha to try and stave off this alien invasion. Interesting. The strategic gameplay bits that you have in there are pretty good. The high school drama time travel story is kind of lame, and you have to go through the time travel stuff in order to play more of the actual game. So it's fine, but it's kind of in the range. I'm playing through it. I'm enjoying half of the game and not enjoying the other half. Like the story is just it's a little too much. If you get into the story, then I'm sure this quickly shoots up the tiers unless you hate the tactical side, right? But it's okay-ish. We'll put it here at next up, Animal Crossing New Horizons. This was the perfect game at the perfect moment when COVID happened. I have tried going back to it a couple times, and I can't dodge that like emotional mental connection between this game and COVID lockdown. Um, game wise, it is very solid. It's got everything that you want about an Animal Crossing game. Emotionally, I I have a hard time going back to it. Um, I'll put it as okay. At some point, I could see myself just starting a whole new island, like just delete everything, just start from zero, and maybe like reforge connections with it. But it's tough. It's a tough game for me to play right now. Backpack battles. Backpack battles. Uh, it's a stupid game. It's almost like an idle clicker kind of game. You buy things to put in your backpack. You strategically arrange your backpack, and then you auto battle. It's weird. It's fluff. It's fine. It could be a little deeper than it is. I'll put it as okay. It's addictive. I'll give it that much, but it's not great. Banished. Banished is an older game. Older. Banished is fairly similar to like Manor Lords or games like that. You're building up this settlement. You have your people going out and just trying to survive. They do fishing. They do farming. It's a game I like going back to periodically. It's not complicated. It's not super fancy, but it is nice. Banished, I will put it as good. Um, it is because it's an older game. There's certain aspects that you wish were a little polished up. You wish the graphics were a little better, or things were a little more polished, but it's fine. Breachway. Breachway is something that I have been playing a little bit of lately. I've even played some on this channel. You can go check out those videos. Um, It is early access, so it's still a little rough. I'll put it in okay for now, but it needs some work still before it is ready for prime time. But as kind of a sandbox to play in, it is interesting enough, and it's moving in the right direction. So eventually, once it gets completed, I could see it definitely moving up quickly. But for now, it's fine. It's just you feel that it's incomplete, right? There's just certain aspects that don't work or are missing. Crusader Kings 3. Um, Man, this might be my first loved it of the year. This is also a little bit older. It's been out for a few years. I played a lot of Crusader Kings 2. Crusader Kings 3 is the same thing, only shinier and better. The DLC for Crusader Kings 3 has been a little mixed. Whereas the Crusader Kings 2 DLC ended up being too much, right? They just Paradox has this bad habit of just going too hard on the DLCs. Um, Sometimes you enjoy it. Usually you're just like, why are you micro slicing this game down? Crusader Kings 3 as a base game is still very solid. Some of the DLCs are fine. Some of the DLCs really should have been part of the base game or should never have been made at all. So the game version that I have with the DLCs I love it. I love going back to it. I love trying to conquer England or France or Eastern Europe, depending on what kind of flavor of game I'm into on any given day. Like Crusader Kings 3, definitely worth trying if you're a fan of grand strategy games. If you hate grand strategy games, avoid at all costs. The learning curve is more like a learning cliff in both Crusader Kings 2 and 3, but once you get past that cliff, it is actually very rewarding and very challenging. Okay, Cult of the Lamb. Cult of the Lamb is a game. Let's see. Oh, I should talk about where I've been playing these. So, 13 Sentinels I've been playing on my PlayStation. Animal Crossing on the Switch, because it's not anywhere else. The rest of these are PC games. Cult of the Lamb I've been playing on my PlayStation. This conceptually is hilarious. You are a lamb that is trying to bring about the resurrection of an ancient evil god. Other gods are trying to prevent you from doing it. You have this cult. It is it is darkly hilarious. The gameplay itself is fine. The like management of your villagers and the dungeons that you crawl through are fine. The environment is what really sells it. Ultimately, I would say good, not great. It is worth at the very least checking out videos of people playing it and getting some good laughs at how ridiculous it is to have this little sheep and these little woodland creatures that all are big doe-eyed, happy-looking guys all of a sudden summoning evil ancient terrors. Curse of the Gods. Pretty sure that was Curse of the Gods. Yes. Also played on PlayStation. It's like a roguelike dungeon delver. Think a little bit Gauntlet, right? You're focusing a lot on collecting money, and then as you pass through doors, you get more and more cursed, but it increases your powers. It's fine. It's not great. I'm glad I did not pay money for. Well, I have a PlayStation Plus subscription, so I didn't pay actual money for this game. I pay money for the service, but it's fine. It's not great. Darkest Dungeon. This game has been out for a while. Their sequel is out. You're exploring dungeons, delving into dark secrets. It has this interesting mechanic where you have to manage the torchlight in addition to like health and resources. the different DLCs have done different things to the game. One of the DLCs I tried, it just made the game way too tough. So I had to go back to the base game and start all over. It's one of those things where they want you to keep playing even if you die, right? That death is part of the experience and so on. But really, if you have high level characters that all get wiped out, it just sets you back so far that you might as well drop the game. There's some of those kind of like design choices that can lead to environmental storytelling, but mostly just lead to people abandoning the game. Overall, Darkest Dungeon, it's fine. It's an interesting challenge, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a good game. All right, a Udian 100 Heroes Chronicles. Oh man, what is the name of this one? It is Udian Chronicle 100 Heroes. That's the name of the game. This game, it feels like an old school Super NES JRPG, right? Which is not a bad thing in my world. Oh, I forgot to add my Super Nintendo games on here. Well, we'll do that in a few minutes. Overall, this game, it has, as it says on the tin, a bunch of different companions you can add into your party. Most of them are a waste of space, so it's just kind of padding it out if you think like the old Suikoden games. Thank you, Microsoft. It's okay. The story itself is good enough. The gameplay is good enough. I wouldn't call it a great game, but if you were into those old school Super Nintendo JRPG or early PlayStation JRPGs, it will scratch that itch for you. Factorio, you're seeing me continue on with the Space Age run. I have played it before. It is solidly in a I love playing it. I love playing various factory games just in general. It scratches that spreadsheet love and itch of mine. Factorio, I would actually say, is a little worse than Satisfactory. The mechanisms involved in Factorio are just a little bit more fiddly, whereas in Satisfactory, you always feel like you have more space than you feel like you have in Factorio. Maybe it's the pressures of Factorio, the biters and the pressure against your walls that kind of keep that there, where Satisfactory is a little bit more exploration focused. The disadvantage with Satisfactory is there's only ever one map, right? There's no like generation of a map. It is the same map every single time, and so you end up in this like strategic loop where you bum rush certain things and just go for it. Whereas Factorio, it's different every time. So you have certain baseline strategies, but it's not necessarily the same exact playthrough every single time. Sometimes you have to work a little harder for certain resources. Both of these factory games, love them. Factorio top-down third-person, Satisfactory first-person 3D. I have videos on both of these on my channel. Feel free to watch them. But yeah, they are that sweet, sweet nectar for me. All right, next up, Fallout 4. Fallout 4 and Skyrim, which I'll talk about Skyrim in a minute. Fallout 4 is one of those games that I have played ridiculous amounts of. I have gotten all of the endings. I play this on my PlayStation. I've gotten all the endings. I've platinumed the game. I have completed most of the DLCs. Some of the Nuka World DLC I haven't finished out yet, but I've done all sorts of stuff in Fallout 4. I love going back to it. It's like that cozy, warm game that you go back to, even though it's post-apocalyptic horror. So, I will keep going back to Fallout 4 forever. Skyrim, same sort of thing. I will keep going back forever. This image for Skyrim is actually the Novalis mod. I was like, expansion? No. Uh, it changes up a lot of things about the game. It gives you different move sets for attacking. It changes around some of the mechanics of the game. It is an overhaul mod. I was playing around with that a bit earlier this year. I've been having fun with it, but it is heavy, right? It's dense, and so it's hard to play. It's hard to just cozy up to. Like Fallout 4, you can just kind of like turn your brain off and go through it. Normal Skyrim, you can kind of turn your brain off and go through it. Novelist, not so much. It is definitely ramped up difficulty and much more of a challenge. Definitely both of these, just top tier games, always will be. Final Fantasy 13 2. Final Fantasy 13 2 is it's the time travel Final Fantasy 13 spin-off. Sarah is going out and trying to revive Lightning. I've been going back through and playing through the Final Fantasy 13 series. I finished Final Fantasy 13 in 2023. 13.2 I started up in 2024. I didn't get very far before I got distracted by other stuff. Overall, like, the mechanisms are fine, the game's fine. I'll put it as okay. It's pretty close between okay and eh. It's fine. Between that and playing Darkest Dungeon, yeah, it's even money, right? So if you want to experience an interesting story, you've gone. First off, go through Final Fantasy 13 first. That game it's complete. It is good. It is fine. Like for all the hate it got when it first came out, I thought it was perfectly fine. The mechanisms involved in that game are different, and so it was throwing some people off who are Final Fantasy lovers. But overall, the game plays well. Final Fantasy 13 2, you feel that it is like a kind of rushed sequel. It still plays fine. It still has decent enough mechanics. It's not as smooth. It like the entire mechanism involved in the game of time travel is a little janky. So take your time with it. It might not be for everyone. I got it on a good sale, so I figured I might as well. Another Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 14, Dawn Trail. I love playing Final Fantasy 14, but at the same time, I don't like the time investment of playing Final Fantasy 14. The mechanisms are great, the story is great, the gameplay is compelling. It's just it takes a long time to get through that content, and it's tough. So I love it, but I don't play it as often as I probably should, or other things get in the way. Right? I've been playing a lot of factory games this year, not so much Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16. This is a weird one for me. I haven't actually played much of it yet. I've had a hard time getting into it and getting settled with it. It's a good game. I can tell the story is decent. It's just it hasn't hooked me, right? Hasn't grabbed me as hard as some other games have. So some other Final Fantasy games even have. So I'll get through it. It's just it feels a little sluggish at this point. Fire Emblem Three Houses, a game I'm going back and replaying. It is one of those like tactics-based games where if you love old school Final Fantasy tactics or the Fire Emblem games, it's definitely for you. The building relationships with people and developing your house and going through a specific house-based storyline. That's why I'm replaying it. I did one of the storylines to begin with, and now I'm doing a different storyline. So all in all, very good game. Takes a while to play through, but well worth the play at least once. Frost Train. Frost Train is a very snackable game. Similar to Backpack Battles in a way. You're building up this train with different like cars on it, and the different cars interact in different ways to build up morale of your people and to give you resources. It's interesting. I might do a playthrough of a round or two of Frost Train on the channel just to show people what it is. It's definitely worth taking a look at, though. Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, the PC game. I have loved playing Gloomhaven in person. Gloomhaven, the PC game, is not great. If you need that Gloomhaven itch scratched, go for it. If you already know how to play Gloomhaven, it's okay. But if you don't know how to play Gloomhaven already, it is bad. It is a bad experience. And even if you know how to play Gloomhaven, there's way too much clicking involved. Way too much active confirmation of things that it's like, why am I having to confirm that I can't use an ability that I can't use, right? It's that kind of stuff. It just grinds my gears a little. As a game, like as a translation of the board game, it's okay, but it's just not well executed. So it goes in the level. Harvestella. I was looking for something cozy-ish, right? Kind of like Animal Crossing to play on my Switch. Harvestella's been there well enough. It kind of like Cult of the Lamb, kind of like a little bit like Fields of Mystery in a way, right? You have a farm that you're growing stuff on, but mostly you're doing the farming to get resources for like potions and foods to buff up your character in dungeons. It's mostly going through dungeons, and the farming stuff is just to generate resources. It's okay. It's an okay game to play on your Switch. It's yeah. If basically Square Enix went and saw Stardew Valley and went, oh, we could do something like that, and it feels it, right? Like it has that same kind of feel. There is an overarching story. There's companions to gain and to improve in relationships with. So it's got a lot of interesting mechanics. It's not a great game, but it's fine. It's a good way to spend an hour or two when you're in an airport, right? Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, definitely a surprise for me. I played it on my PlayStation. I think I picked it up almost as soon as it came to the PlayStation. The rhythm-based game just it works. It works really well. I'm really sad that they closed down the studio just after releasing this game, but well worth giving a shot to. It can be challenging. I think I played it through on normal or easy, maybe easy, just because the rhythm-based stuff was challenging. But overall, Hi-Fi Rush definitely worth playing, definitely worth experiencing for yourself. A let's play video of it wouldn't do it justice. You need to like viscerally experience that action of hitting all your attacks on the beat and feeling that kind of like, oh yeah, it's working, it's powerful kind of thing. Okay. Kerbal Space Program 2. I bought this like 2 weeks before they shut down the studio and ended development on the game. It shortly after the science update came out. It is a complete enough game. It's really frustrating that it's never going to be more than it is. Yeah. Kerbal Space Program 2. So much promise squandered so quickly because they reached a little too far and didn't do the groundwork that they needed to. Manor Lords, I'm just gonna dump in okay. I have played a little bit of it once. It felt a lot like Banished. It felt a lot like Farthest Frontier. It felt a lot like all those other city city buildy kind of games. It was fine. I could see where it has more potential. I just wasn't able to get into it in that one session. It didn't hook me right away, and so I'm like, okay, I'll let them keep cooking on it, and I'll come back to it. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I've been playing through a bit of a Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 repeat playthrough on my PlayStation. I'm in towards the end of Mass Effect 2 right now. It's something I'm just kind of picking up every few months, playing a little bit more, and putting down again. I have already beaten all of these games. I know the story. I really, really love the Mass Effect universe. I even was going back and replaying Andromeda for a while. Yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment too. So overall, Mass Effect, I love the games. They do hold up on a replay, maybe not as well as some other games do. Fields Mystria. I've been having a lot of fun playing this. It's a Stardew Valley clone. It is still early access, so there will be a certain point as I'm playing through the game where I'm just going to stop because I'm going to run out of like the content path. They only have heart events up to a certain point. They've only done so much stuff to the game, so overall, if you're looking for something that's like Stardew Valley but just different enough that it feels new, play Fields of Mystria. The poster child here, Celine, she doesn't really have that much to do with the game. She's supposed to be one of your good friends, but whatever. Like, don't get thrown off by the Sailor Moonish aesthetic here on the cover art. It doesn't necessarily pull through the entire game. You can play it just the same way you play Stardew Valley, just better graphics. Okay, I'm going to save metaphor for the last. Okay. Odin Sphere Left Fraser. This is one of those games that Vanillaware games similar to 13 Sentinels. I liked it. It was good enough. It went on too long. I finished it up this year, and it felt kind of like a chore to finish up. There's a number of different characters with a number of different storylines. This is kind of a Vanillaware thing, right? And you have to play through all the different storylines, but there's like 6 storylines, and it felt like it should have stopped after 4. So it just drug on a bit too long, and then you have this end sequence where you have to pick different characters to go in a different order. I don't know. It ended up working. It was fine. It just too long of a game. To give you a point of reference, this game came out in PlayStation 2 era when more game was more better, right? Oh, this is going to be a 60-hour game as opposed to just a 40-hour? Oh, that'll be good. Yeah, those times are long gone. 13 Sentinels is kind of in that same way, right? It's a little slow and it's going on a little too long, so we'll see. Oxygen not included. In that same bucket as Factorio and Satisfactory, you have, it's not a factory, but it's a colony on a asteroid, and you're trying to get the mechanisms to work, right? You need the right amount of oxygen and liquid and get your toilets going and all this food and all this kind of stuff. This, I think, is my number 1 played game of all time. I have played way too much of it, and I love it. I love it. I will I'll start a new asteroid about once a year. Just play to a certain point. Usually, I get up to a certain point and stop. That's about the time that you're really getting heavily into space, and you have to like make this kind of from mid game to late game leap. I have a hard time doing that. Um, so usually that's where it starts getting less fun and where I stop playing that particular asteroid. And then a few months later, I go and start a new one. That loop. Okay, Prison Architect. It's one that I have had for a long time. I started up a playthrough this year. It's okay. Like I see where the mechanisms are and how they interlock and that kind of stuff. It doesn't feel very interesting. Like the more interesting thing is you bring in worse and worse criminals who can do more and more bad things, but eh, eh, eh. Um, Mechanically, it's fine. It doesn't have that kind of variety of stuff going on, nor is there this kind of natural evolution path, right? So you start off with some amount of money, you build a prison, you run the prison, you make money. Eventually, you get bored of that prison, you make a new prison. But the nice thing is, you sell off your old prison, which gives you more starting money for your new prison. So you can make a low security prison, have it running fine, make some money there, sell off the prison, make a medium security prison, have it running fine, make more money, sell it off, make a super max sec, blah 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 blah. It's fine. It's just eh. Slay the Spire. Oh my goodness. Slay the Spire. What have you done to us? Most people put this here. It's a really, really, really good game. It has this kind of it's roguelike plus deck building. Two great tastes that taste great together. It's compelling. It just is fairly limited in content. So I feel that I have played enough of Slay the Spire. Yes, I can go back and play more, but it's not offering a lot of new stuff to me at this point. So loved it, but probably won't be playing it anymore. Right? Space Haven. This is probably a game y'all haven't heard of. Space Haven, you're on a spaceship that you are basically using like a miniature colony. So you need to make food, make oxygen, go around, collect resources, often fight monsters to collect those resources. You send your people out on away missions, you send them out on mining missions. It's interesting. The graphics are a little rough, the gameplay's a little rough, but it's like $10 or less. So it's worth checking out if you're into colony sims, if you're into space games, or especially if you're into both of those things at the same time. Tunic. Oh my goodness, Tunic. Take everything that you love about old Zelda games, especially like Zelda Link to the Past, right? That Super Nintendo Zelda. Take everything about that and now make it an homage with its own unique language that it never bothers explaining to you. You unlock pages of the instruction book as you play through, and you have to figure out what it's trying to tell you through contextual clues. Some of the stuff's in English, most of it's in this unique language. Yes, you can translate this unique language. No, it's not worth it. You don't need to. Man, Tunic, such a good game. I'm a little disappointed at the difficulty spike for the final boss. That I played through the entire game on normal up until I ran my head into that last boss like 5 times in a row and just got spanked. And then I was like, okay, fine. Turn it down to easy. Just totally annihilate the final boss. I was like, okay, the final boss difficulty tuning was off. Apart from that, man, that game, perfect. Well worth the play. If you love those Zelda-like adventure games, you want to watch a cute fox run around and hacking up monsters, it's great. Especially if you're into puzzles. If you're into puzzles at all, super good. Undernaut's Labyrinth of the Yoni. This is a weird game. I was playing it on my PlayStation. If you think about like old wizardry games, right? Or things along those lines. You're like first person view moving in this kind of grid pattern through a dungeon. You encounter monsters and then you have turn based combat. It's interesting. It's not really good, but the story's there. It's got this good throwback thing. I put it as an okay game. If you don't have that same level of wizardry or those old like 3D, like the old 3D SSI games, right? Then you're probably quickly dumping this down here. But I thought it was a pretty good play. I only got a little ways into it and then dropped it. But it also was only $5, so I don't care. All right, Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors is addictive as hell, but it's not necessarily a great game. I have put in plenty of hours on this. My son, when he was here over Christmas, he put in plenty of hours on this. He got the platinum on it, and then he's like, "I will never play this ever again," because yeah, it is addictive. It's just not great. There's a lot of unlocks. There's a lot of interesting variety in the base game. You're going to play it for tens of hours, but once you shoot it, it's lost all its flavor, right? I know that there are expansions that I could get that will introduce more characters, more weapons, more flavor to it. I'm good. I've played enough of it. It was a great experience, but I've hit the end of that experience and need no more of it, as opposed to something like Skyrim, Fallout, Factory Games, even Crusader Kings. All of these games, like, you can play again and again and again, almost forever. Fallout and Skyrim, you could get to the end of that flavor, right? You've done all the things. You're kind of done with it. I'm getting close on those games, honestly, but that's after like thousands of hours. I hit that on Vampire Survivors at maybe the 100-hour mark, maybe. So different kind of level, still worth the play, still worth the $15 or something like that. That's there. Balatro, I just picked this up the other day. Similar to Slay the Spire, similar to Vampire Survivors, roguelike. You just keep going again and again and again, and you're playing poker hands. I'm going to put it here in okay. I see how it could be very addictive for certain people. It's good or good enough. Similar to Backpack Battles, like a nice way to spend some time, but not as compelling as Slay the Spire was. I would say not even as compelling as Vampire Survivors has been. So, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Magic Archery, man, I'll put it down here in eh. It is an idle clicker game. It's very, very simple. You play through once in about 40 minutes. It's a bit of fluff. It's fine. You can pick it up. It is free. You can pick it up. You can play it. You can go, oh, I have experienced this, and never go back and be perfectly fine, right? You don't feel like you have wasted your time. You feel like you have spent it properly, but yeah, it's nothing more than a single playthrough sort of experience. Lone Star I've played on the channel. Also, you can check out that video. Lone Star, roguelike dice builder with spaceship combat. Interesting. I would put it good. It's not great. You're building a lot of the combos like you do in Vampire Survivors, Balatro, Slay the Spire, right? these are all in that same kind of bucket of you're building combos to try and break the game, and if you break the game, you win. Yay! Not a ton of strategy apart from what kind of combo do you want to try and build. Lone Star has a little bit more in that you have positioning going on, whereas Balatro, there's none of that. Slay the Spire, there's none of that, right? So, Slay the Spire, you have like potions that you can choose to drink. Vampire Survivors, it's mostly dodging things. Balatro, you do have consumables. Lone Star, yeah. So each one has its own little twist on it. They're all fairly similar itch that they're scratching, right? Slay the Spire, Balatro, and Lone Star at the very least are very similar. Vampire Survivors, apart from being repeat play roguelike, a little different, but all four of them definitely rely on that same kind of mechanic. You build a combo, you break the game with the combo, you win. Yay! Alright. Metaphor Refantasio. I received it for Christmas, courtesy of my son. I have started playing it. I don't know where it goes yet. It kind of is a fantasy Persona. Kind of. Kind of isn't. It's definitely got a lot of that same DNA, which makes sense because it's made by the same guys who make Persona. I think it goes here for now. I think it could easily move up into Loved It. It's trending that direction, but man, it starts slow. It's a painfully slow start. And if that slowness continues, it's definitely going to drop down. So for now, we'll put it here. Two more games that I forgot to download images for and don't want to force you to go through it. I have a Super NES Mini that I play games on periodically, and the two games that I've played this year, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Oh my god, super love it. Right next to Tunic, you notice that I made a lot of references between those two games. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game, and then just after that one is the original Legend of Zelda game. I love that top-down style. I don't like Zelda 2 was, man, that was one of the first Nintendo games I got, and I've played it a lot, and it's fine, but it's not good. The 3D Zelda games I haven't enjoyed as much as the top-down 2D Zelda games. Oh man, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, definitely top tier for me, and then Super Metroid. Oh man, I love me a good Metroidvania. Super Metroid, king granddaddy of them all. Definitely right in the loved it mix. I have like 2 bosses left to go in my current playthrough. I bounced off a Ridley the other day, which is strange because they're like, "Oh yeah, just smash him; it'll be easy." I'm like, "Huh? Well, this was harder than I remembered." But I love a good Super Nintendo game. I love a good afternoon spent playing it. I have a couple others on there that I play periodically, but those two, definitely ones that I constantly go back to, constantly enjoy playing. Anyway, that is my 40 games over the course of the year, and I've probably missed 1 or 2 in there as well. It's quite a list. If you have any comments, what have you been playing? Let me know. It's always fun to hear what other folks are playing, what they're into, what maybe you have a hard disagree on something in my list here. I totally missed something about Prison Architect, or Fallout is the worst game ever. Whatever, sure, let me know. Interested. Anyway, on that note, I'll leave it here. Let you get on with your day, and I hope you have a good new year. Catch you later.